Alright, today I'll show you how to draw a face. So, you start with like an oval shape, or whatever shape you want their face to be. Some faces are more round, some are more long. Usually start with a dividing line down the center, both ways. So your eyes are usually right down the middle, like that. And the space between the eyes is usually the same width of each eye itself. So we got this dividing that in half. Now this space here, we also divide in half. About there, that's where you're going to get the bottom of your nose. This space from here to here, divide that in half. That's where you get the center of your mouth. Now look at that beautiful person. Alright, we're not quite done. So, nose. Get some nostrils in there. Okay. Shapes of the eyes differ for every person. That's where you can be creative. Kind of decide what kind of person you're drawing. What expression are they going to have? Your eyebrows. I'm not really sure what kind of dude I'm drawing right now. Cheekbones, straight down, jawline. And this is why when sketching you start very light with all of your marks, because you're finding the right line that you want. And you don't want to fully commit. The ears also, they line up with the edge of the eyes here. It's usually where the ears start. And they come down to right below the nose. And again, these are just kind of general rules, but most people fit somewhere in these parameters here. So, one thing that was tough for me, took a while, is figuring out how to get the eyes to look right. And you kind of just have to feel it out. I usually start with a very light pupil here. And it's like, if that looks a little too far to the center, I'll move it over a bit. So, do they look even on each side? And you can kind of just feel like, does it look like this dude's looking at me? If so, then you can commit. Like that. A little highlight there. Dark edge. Sometime I'll do a video on just the eye itself. Leave that little white space for the highlight. And then where you got eyelashes, that top part of the eye generally has a very dark edge on it. And then there's a line usually above that. It kind of shows where the eyelid goes under into that eye socket. This area right here, where the eye kind of comes up to the bridge of the nose, is usually the darkest, one of the darkest spots on the face. So shade that out pretty dark. It tucks under right here. Usually just keep like keep this gray, shade that area in down there. Because that part kind of sinks in. Take it to the brow line. Thicken those up a bit. And typically the under eyelid is sort of a darker area. Okay, now for this nose, usually have them so you're not catching much light right under the nose, so you'll have a fairly dark shaded area there. Shade the nose. Same thing with that lip. Your upper lip kind of angles inward, so it's not catching a lot of light on the bottom side of it, so it's usually fairly dark. Below your bottom lip also, not a lot of light getting there, so some dark shading under that. The pupil of the eye, you follow that down, that's usually where the mouth will end. Boom. Ears. Okay. Bring in the cheekbones a bit. There's a lot of wiggle room with most of this. Depends on how you want this character to look. Good way to practice this is get a magazine or something, or maybe if you're watching TV, you can sketch people's faces. A magazine's easier because they're not moving. On TV, they're not going to be there for that long unless you pause it or something. I can do all sorts of these different faces. Maybe we'll get into like different expressions. You can do stuff that's exaggerated if you were making like a villain type character or hero or something. Things you would look for, try to create in those characters to imply that they're aggressive or stronger or meaner or something like that. There's a few things you can do differently. If you're going to go into the rest of the body, depending on how tough you want this guy to look, if you want him to be, a strong fella, his neck might start right at his ears. If he's a thinner, weaker guy, then that neck might be really thin. So those are different things to pay attention to depending on what you want that character to represent, how you want them to look. See how he looks really skinny right there. Not a tough guy. There. You make it a little wider. Got rid of those lines. Boom. Instantly stronger. So there you go. There's a male face for you. All right. Have a good one.